Jamaica's billion-dollar ganja revolution. Imagine a Jamaica where the island's legendary ganja fields aren't a source of persecution, but of prosperity. A Jamaica where the small farmer is the cornerstone of a thriving new industry. In 2015, this vision started to become a reality as the nation launched a daring economic experiment. This is the story of Jamaica's ganja revolution and how one plant is set to redefine the future of a nation. President Barack Obama did not legalize cannabis at the federal level during his time in office in 2009 to 2017, but his administration made important policy changes that shifted how cannabis laws were enforced, especially in states that chose to legalize it. The principal change was, of course, federal non-interference, as exemplified by the Cole Memo of 2013, issued by Deputy Attorney General James Cole, told federal prosecutors not to interfere with state legal cannabis operations, as long as they follow strict rules such as no sales to minors or drug cartels. This gave legal protection to businesses in states like Colorado and Washington, which chose to legalize cannabis. The principal impact, it gave states the confidence to launch and expand legal cannabis markets despite federal prohibition, and also gave islands such as Jamaica the confidence to move forward. Thank you, President Barack Obama. Thank you. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. She was Jamaica's first woman Prime Minister. Her first terms, March 30th, 2006 to September 11th, 2007. Second term, January 5th, 2012, March 3rd, 2016. The Honourable Mark Golding, PNP leader since November 2020, formerly Minister of Justice between 2012-2016 under Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. He chaired the Cabinet Legislation Committee. Under his tenure, 121 acts were passed, including a reform to decriminalising ganja in 2015. The Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act of 2015, commonly known as the Ganja Law, was a historic milestone in Jamaica, particularly for Rastafari, who have long regarded cannabis, or ganja, as a sacred herb central to their spiritual and cultural lividity. Listen to the Honourable Mark Golding describes the benefit of the Act to the Rastafari community of Jamaica.
Of freedom of religious expression, we have used that as a basis for saying that the Rastafari people, who for the first time are recognized in any public statute of Jamaica, have a right to possession and use of ganja for their sacrament. They can apply also for 2014. We amended our criminal records legislation to provide that personal use would no longer attract a criminal record in Jamaica, and to provide for automatic expungement of all persons in the past who had a criminal record for personal use. And many thousands of people are in a position to benefit from that. Then we sort of analyzed the treaties and saw what space there was under the treaties from a technical legal standpoint for us to have some policy room for maneuver. And so what we have done is the constitutional rights of freedom of religious expression, we have used that as a basis for saying that the Rastafari people, who for the first time are recognized in any public statute of Jamaica, have a right to possession and use of ganja for their sacrament. They can apply also for They can apply for their places of worship to be designated as effectively exempt spaces where they can use their herbs, and for lands on which they can cultivate their herbs for sacramental use. And we've also come up with a concept of an exempt event, which is an event for the primary purpose of celebration of the Rastafari faith.
Now, listen to the words of the entrepreneurs, the farmers who will create the billion-dollar ganja industry here in Jamaica.
I'd like to thank MP Mark for the opportunity to be able to plant 5 trees. Back in 2015, when he decriminalized it, it created a pathway for persons like me who excel at cultivating ganja and processing it, right? And open up the doors for research and development and homegrown plants, right? Where you can grow 5 trees, as well as possess up to 2 ounces. And I just really want to thank Mark.
Here's a powerful quote from Ras Aya V, a prominent Rastafari elder and ganja advocate in Jamaica, following the passage of the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act of 2015, locally known as the Ganja Law. For years, we've suffered under the brutality of Babylon's system for using the herb. Now the government has finally acknowledged our right to use ganja as a sacrament. But this is only the beginning. We must ensure that Rastafari are not locked out of the industry we help create. Ras Aya V is chairman of the Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Farmers Association and a member of Jamaica's Cannabis Licensing Authority.
For personal use of up to 2 ounces of ganja or a spliff, you cannot be arrested, you cannot be charged, you cannot be prosecuted, and you cannot get a criminal record from it. And thousands of Jamaicans have had their criminal records expunged so that they can travel and apply for a visa, so they can work for the public sector, comrades. That was social justice legislation. That is the mission of the PNP in practice. That legislation recognized Rastafari in the law for the first time since independence, comrades. I was the person who penned the first order approving Rastafari Roots Fest in this realm.
Go with Bolding. Jamaica's billion-dollar ganja revolution. Imagine a Jamaica where the island's legendary ganja fields aren't a source of persecution, but of prosperity. A Jamaica where the small farmer is the cornerstone of a thriving new industry. In 2015, this vision started to become a reality as the nation launched a daring economic experiment. This is the story of Jamaica's ganja revolution and how one plant is set to redefine the future of a nation. President Barack Obama did not legalize cannabis at the federal level during his time in office in 2009 to 2017, but his administration made important policy changes that shifted how cannabis laws were enforced, especially in states that chose to legalize it. The principal change was, of course, federal non-interference, as exemplified by the Cole Memo of 2013, issued by Deputy Attorney General James Cole, told federal prosecutors not to interfere with state legal cannabis operations, as long as they follow strict rules such as no sales to minors or drug cartels. This gave legal protection to businesses in states like Colorado and Washington, which chose to legalize cannabis. The principal impact, it gave states the confidence to launch and expand legal cannabis markets despite federal prohibition, and also gave islands such as Jamaica the confidence to move forward. Thank you, President Barack Obama. Thank you. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. She was Jamaica's first woman Prime Minister. Her first terms, March 30th, 2006 to September 11th, 2007. Second term, January 5th, 2012, March 3rd, 2016. The Honourable Mark Golding, PNP leader since November 2020, formerly Minister of Justice between 2012-2016 under Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. He chaired the Cabinet Legislation Committee. Under his tenure, 121 acts were passed, including a reform to decriminalising ganja in 2015. The Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act of 2015, commonly known as the Ganja Law, was a historic milestone in Jamaica, particularly for Rastafari, who have long regarded cannabis, or ganja, as a sacred herb central to their spiritual and cultural lividity. Listen to the Honourable Mark Golding describes the benefit of the Act to the Rastafari community of Jamaica.
Of freedom of religious expression, we have used this as a basis for saying that the Rastafari people, who for the first time are recognized in any public statute of Jamaica, have a right to possession and use of ganja for their sacrament. They can apply also for 2014. We amended our criminal records legislation to provide that personal use would no longer attract a criminal record in Jamaica, and to provide for automatic expungement of all persons in the past who had a criminal record for personal use. And many thousands of people are in a position to benefit from that. Then we sort of analyzed the treaties and saw what space there was under the treaties from a technical legal standpoint for us to have some policy room for maneuver. And so what we have done is the constitutional rights of freedom of religious expression, we have used that as a basis for saying that the Rastafari people, who for the first time are recognized in any public statute of Jamaica, have a right to possession and use of ganja for their sacrament. They can apply also for they can apply for their places of worship to be designated as effectively exempt spaces where they can use their herbs, and for lands on which they can cultivate their herbs for sacramental use. And we've also come up with a concept of an exempt event, which is an event for the primary purpose of celebration of the Rastafari faith.
Now, listen to the words of the entrepreneurs, the farmers who will create the billion-dollar ganja industry here in Jamaica.
I'd like to thank Anthony Mark for the opportunity to be able to plant 5 trees. Back in 2015, when he decriminalized it created a pathway for persons like me who excel at cultivating ganja and processing, right? And open up the doors for research and development and homegrown plants, right? Where you can grow 5 trees as well as possess up to 2 ounces. And I just really want to thank Mark for.
Here's a powerful quote from Ras Aya V, a prominent Rastafari elder and ganja advocate in Jamaica, following the passage of the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act of 2015, locally known as the Ganja Law. For years, we've suffered under the brutality of Babylon's system for using the herb. Now the government has finally acknowledged our right to use ganja as a sacrament. But this is only the beginning. we must ensure that Rastafari are not locked out of the industry we help create. Russ IRV is chairman of the Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Farmers Association and a member of Jamaica's Cannabis Licensing Authority.
For personal use of up to 2 ounces of ganja or a spliff, you cannot be arrested, you cannot be charged, you cannot be prosecuted, and you cannot get a criminal record from it. And thousands of Jamaicans have had their criminal records expunged so that they can travel and apply for a visa, so they can work for the public sector, comrades. That was social justice legislation. That is the mission of the PNP in practice. That legislation recognized Rastafari in the law for the first time since independence, comrades. I was the person who penned the first order approving Rastafari Roots Fest in the grill.
Go with Golding. Jamaica's billion-dollar ganja revolution. Imagine a Jamaica where the island's legendary ganja fields aren't a source of persecution, but of prosperity. A Jamaica where the small farmer is the cornerstone of a thriving new industry. In 2015, this vision started to become a reality as the nation launched a daring economic experiment. This is the story of Jamaica's Ganja revolution and how one plant is set to redefine the future of a nation. President Barack Obama did not legalize cannabis at the federal level during his time in office in 2009 to 2017, but his administration made important policy changes that shifted how cannabis laws were enforced, especially in states that chose to legalize it. The principal change was, of course, federal non-interference, as exemplified by the Cole Memo of 2013, issued by Deputy Attorney General James Cole, told federal prosecutors not to interfere with state legal cannabis operations, as long as they follow strict rules such as no sales to minors or drug cartels. This gave legal protection to businesses in states like Colorado and Washington, which chose to legalize cannabis. The principal impact, it gave states the confidence to launch and expand legal cannabis markets despite federal prohibition, and also gave islands such as Jamaica the confidence to move forward. Thank you, President Barack Obama. Thank you. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. She was Jamaica's first woman Prime Minister. Her first terms, March 30th, 2006 to September 11th, 2007. Second term, January 5th, 2012, March 3rd, 2016. The Honourable Mark Golding, PNP leader since November 2020, formerly Minister of Justice between 2012-2016 under Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. He chaired the Cabinet Legislation Committee. Under his tenure, 121 acts were passed, including a reform to decriminalising ganja in 2015. The Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act of 2015, commonly known as the Ganja Law, was a historic milestone in Jamaica, particularly for Rastafari, who have long regarded cannabis, or ganja, as a sacred herb central to their spiritual and cultural lividity. Listen to the Honourable Mark Golding describes the benefit of the Act to the Rastafari community of Jamaica.
Of freedom of religious expression, we have used this as a basis for saying that the Rastafari people, who for the first time are recognized in any public statute of Jamaica, have a right to possession and use of ganja for their sacrament. They're also, they can apply also for 2014 we amended our criminal records legislation to provide that personal use would no longer attract a criminal record in Jamaica, and to provide for automatic expungement of all persons in the past who had a criminal record for personal use. And many thousands of people are in a position to benefit from that. Then we sort of analyzed the treaties and saw what space there was under the treaties from a technical legal standpoint for us to have some policy room for maneuver. And so what we have done is the constitutional rights of freedom of religious expression, we have used that as a basis for saying that the Rastafari people, who for the first time are recognized in any public statute of Jamaica, have a right to possession and use of ganja for their sacrament. They are also, they can apply also for they can apply for their places of worship to be designated as effectively exempt spaces where they can use their herbs, and for lands on which they can cultivate their herbs for sacramental use. And we've also come up with a concept of an exempt event, which is an event for the primary purpose of celebration of the Rastafari faith.
Now, listen to the words of the entrepreneurs, the farmers who will create the billion-dollar ganja industry here in Jamaica.
I'd like to thank Emily Mark for the opportunity to be able to plant 5 trees. Back in 2015, when he decriminalized it, it created a pathway for persons like me who excel at cultivating ganja and processing, right? And open up the doors for research and development and homegrown plants, right? Where you can grow 5 trees, as well as possess up to 2 ounces. And I just really want to thank Mark.
Here's a powerful quote from Ras Aya V, a prominent Rastafari elder and ganja advocate in Jamaica, following the passage of the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act of 2015, locally known as the Ganja Law. For years, we've suffered under the brutality of Babylon's system for using the herb. Now the government has finally acknowledged our right to use ganja as a sacrament. But this is only the beginning. We must ensure that Rastafari are not locked out of the industry we help create. Ras Aya V is chairman of the Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Farmers Association and a member of Jamaica's Cannabis Licensing Authority.
For personal use of up to 2 ounces of ganja or a spliff, you cannot be arrested, you cannot be charged, you cannot be prosecuted, and you cannot get a criminal record from it. And thousands of Jamaicans have had their criminal records expunged so that they can travel and apply for a visa, so they can work for the public sector, comrades. That was social justice legislation. That is the mission of the PNP in practice. That legislation recognized Rastafari in the law for the first time since independence, comrades. I was the person who penned the first order approving Rastafari Roots Fest in the grid.
Go with bolding. Jamaica. I think you would agree, those of you who've been able to watch the intro video, that video is truly an inspirational experience. Social justice is in practice. PNP, Jamaica. Oh yes, we need to get the Honourable Mark Golding here on the Motivator show to tell us more of what the PNP party would do if they were to win the next general election. And all the figures indicate they have a very good chance of doing so. We need to get him in here. Oh my gosh, I so enjoyed the research and preparation for this episode of The Motivator Show, because this is where we translate our words into action, and where success is ours for the taking. Oh, yes, it's very much a mindset. I say to you, it is very much a mindset. Get the cobwebs out the way. Get the doubts out the way. Get those negative thoughts out the way. Success is yours for the taking. Yes, yes, yes. I'm feeling so good to stay. I'm feeling so good. And today's episode of the Motivator Show will be truly inspirational. We've got guests, representatives of Jamaica's Ganja, or should I say, Rastafari community, here joining us at 8:45 in approximately, 35 minutes' time. They'll be here live in the studio, relating to us their views of Jamaica, politicians, politics, and indeed the next Jamaican general election, which has to be called within the next 6 months or so. So watch this space. This is one we're going to watch very closely. But before now and then, before the interview, there's a lot to pack in, and I want to get a few public notices in as well. Being the motivator, of course, we're concerned about you, your health and well-being, and your general awareness of what's happening around you in the marketplace. So first of all, I want to give a thumbs up to my previous guest. And many of you will be aware that I've had some truly inspired guests here on The Motivator. And I want to give an appreciation, first of all. I'm giving an appreciation. You recall, only at my last podcast, we had a special episode which focused on the British legal system. Okay, you go into a court. Okay, if you're Christian, not a problem. If you're Jewish, not a problem. Yep. If you're Muslim, not a problem. If you're Sikh, not a problem. Yeah. If you're Hindu, not a problem. You can swear on your good books. You can swear appropriately. But if you are of a African traditional religion, belief system, the court system does not appear to accommodate you, apart from individual courts. Yeah, I've got it here. I'll put up again behind me. There you are, the Royal Courts of Justice here in Britain. And yet, they do not recognize the African indigenous spiritual systems, our religious systems. That must change. Under the UK's Equalities Act of 2010, there's a very clear line that all public services must recognize and acknowledge a person's religious heritage and should not discriminate against that person. So if you are of a religion, a belief system that is not currently being recognized by the British court system, so you go in and you swear. Speak out, speak out, speak out. No longer hold your tongue. Let it be known that you seek recognition. I want to praise and say enough respect, of course, to Brother Elder, of course, Dadian. Yeah, I know since this podcast of last strong that he has received a number of important inquiries to put the record straight. The Motivator Show has had an impact. It is changing the circumstances in which people of different faiths can be recognized in a British court. That's why we do these podcasts. So your voices are heard, your voices are responded to. And absolutely, the power is with you. Praise God, it says Rastafari. Absolutely. That's the affirmation of confidence and forward-thinkedness, creativity and determination. Praise be, praise be, praise be. Well done, Elder Dadian. Keep up the good work. And those of you who want to work, seek him out. why not just contact us via the Motivator show? I'll put the details on the screen later on. Reach out to us. We will talk to you. We'll make the referral on to Elder Daniel. But it's an important achievement following last strong podcast. Now, there has been responses, there has been movement, there's a recognition that the act is an act of parliament, it is the law. And therefore, no British court can in any way discriminate against you because of your religious heritage. Particularly, he says, of those of African indigenous religious systems. I know traditionally, he says, particularly us of the diaspora, it's either Christendom or indeed Islam. I get it, I acknowledge. But actually, Africans have been practicing our own religious systems thousands of years before Christendom, thousands of years before Islam. That is simply an historical fact. It's not a boast, it's simply an historical fact. And it is that recognition, that change in the attitude to African, indigenous, religious and spiritual systems that must change. And it will change because the future is ours for the taking. Success is ours for the taking. Yes. 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 I'm intoxicated with confidence. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Well done, Elder Daniel. Well done. Well done. Well done. You got me going now. You got me going. Now, there is, of course, other guests who I want to give prominence to. And this is important as I give note to my past guests, because each one of them have seen a change, a movement, a progression. The whole purpose of being here on the Motivator show, that you see precisely that. There's a change, there's a translation of words into action. Because ultimately, success is ours, is yours for the taking. You have the power to effect change. You remember King Kabbalah of the African Continental Unity Party in his book, when he made it clear we should not rely upon Masonic figures, a single person to be the custodian of all who we are. We're all custodians. We're all custodians. Take one out, doesn't matter. You take us all out in order to forget. And that's never going to happen. Otherwise, the species is stale and sterile. Is it understood? You have the power to effect change. You are the power that change will happen with. I know, it's a different mindset, isn't it? I hear you. I've received your messages. I understand. It is unnerving. We have the responsibility to effect those changes. That's why that intro video where we focused on Mark Golden, the Right Honourable Mark Golden, the leader of the PNP party in Jamaica, and that significant piece of legislation, the Dangerous Drug Amendment Act of 2015, or the Rastafari Law, had a profound impact on Jamaican society. And the negative propaganda that we've been taught and propagated to Jamaicans by the elites, both in Jamaica and outside the country as well, has now been overcome. It's now up to Jamaicans to go forward and build that multi-billion-dollar ganja industry. We have a powerful brand, one that we can fully exploit, as we are a cultural superpower. It is within our gift to deliver great wealth to the people. Praise Jah, he says, Rastafari. That's the affirmation of strength. Oh, yeah. Yes, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling fantastic. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my gosh. One other announcement before I go to those all-important maybe two more lifestyle messages, which I know has had a profound impact on thousands, tens of thousands of lives out there, I want to remind you of a podcast that we commissioned only a few strongs ago, in which we were reminded, those of us born in Jamaica, the Caribbean, the Americas, indeed here in Europe, that we are part of that historic diaspora. Many of us still bear the names of the latter-day enslavers. Yeah, we have very English or French names or Spanish names. Yeah, most certainly was not the names when our ancestors were compelled to leave the continent of Africa. Most certainly was not our names. That is a profound psychological change that will eventually take place to reclaim that which we have lost, to reclaim it back. Ubuntu, huh? And understanding that as a necessary step in order for us to no longer be humiliated for another generation. It's a necessary step. It's an absolutely necessary step. And let the humiliation stop. Powerful words, huh? I hear you. I know some of you are uncomfortable. I hear you and I feel you. I feel you. Okay? Because it introduces a level of uncertainty, unknowing. That's why I urge you to seek out, to study yourselves, your culture, your histories. That's why I urge you to do so. And in doing so, I'm assuring you, you gain great confidence, great forthrightness. Your intelligent quotient will rise. Because once you realize the truth about your true selves, oh my gosh, I'm assuring you, nothing can hold you down or stop you from going forward. Nothing. There's no power here on earth that can prevent you from going forward. But it is very much a mindset. The majority of us are like eagles, but have been brought up as chickens. Yeah? Chickens don't fly. They don't soar. Yeah? They don't have those powerful eyes. It's all-seeing eyes. Yeah. That's the problem at the moment. It is very much a mindset. But that mindset is changing. I can hear it, I can feel it, I see it every day. The mindset is changing. That's why I can reflect upon you right now. Reflect you, what's in your heart and soul. I can see it and feel it and know it. Be confident, my people, be confident. And together we will transform the world. And it will be a better place, not only just for us, but for all peoples of the world. Because we are but one race. Many ethnicities, yeah, we might cook differently and whatever. But we are one race. In other words, we are a single family, human family. And therefore, we have to take care of all the family, not just those directly from Africa. We've got to take care of the whole family. Care enough so that no human being should no longer starve of lack of food, or indeed not enough water, or not have a shelter to live under, or access to good education, and most certainly access to good health care. It is a human right. We've got to make sure that the human civilizations finds its soul again, so that we treat all human beings equally with respect. And they can decide if they wish to become academics or practical persons, They wish to lay about on the beach or indeed be active participants in society. But all human beings have a right to food, water, shelter, good education, and absolutely good health care. That's a civilized way of living amongst ourselves. There you go. Said it for you. Yeah? That is very much the African way. to give, to share. Mhm. Very much so, very much so. But it's also the way many people across the world, not just Africans, I know, I can only speak from an African perspective, but I see this practice right across all the ethnicities. What we need to ensure is those at the center, those who have control, particularly those capitalists, those crazy people, okay, who only think about themselves and not the masses, and therefore are prepared to sacrifice the masses to protect themselves. That small minority who puts us all in great, grave danger. Change is coming, my dears. Change is coming. Even we can reassure them that they can have their grandeur, but not put us all at risk. Okay. I know we've got a 47th president of the United States. I hear you. I hear you. But even that is but a phase. It is but a phase. Praise Jah, he says, Rastafari. So I want to remind you of a wonderful guest out here, a guest that talked about the Pan-African Treaty of the sixth region, the diaspora. Okay. It's intended that those of us from the diaspora just come under a single treaty and have a seat at the AU. It's an important step forward, and I would wish to encourage you, if you've considered signing the treaty, to do so. I have. It's very, very, very important. Okay, we should not hesitate. We need to make sure that if we want a better world, that world can only happen if we work together. Hyper-individualism has failed. I'm going to say it again. Hyper-individualism, where you only think about yourself of no regard to anyone else, has failed. As a concept, it was always a failure. Yeah? The only way forward is for us all to work collaboratively. Mhm. We cooperate with each other. Okay. Yes, it's always some who have slightly more than others. That's fair enough. But where you have these extremes, that is debilitating to our civilization. And that's what just happened in the United States of America. That big, horrible bill was full of so many horrors. It transferred an incredible amount of wealth to the incredibly wealthy already. An abhorrent piece of legislation. I'm confident the American people will put that right. But the imbalances is caused, or exacerbated, I should say, is such, is debilitating not only for America, but for us, the global community. I paused there. I want that to sink in. I want it to sink in. Very important. We have that collective responsibility to cooperate with our cousins in the United States of America so that wealth can be better distributed amongst Americans, the richest country in the world. Yep. That can afford a national debt in the tens of trillions. Very few countries can afford such a thing. Yeah. It has the capability to transform itself so that every American can live comfortably. Don't need to be super rich. Just need to live comfortably so you can take care of your family, ensure your children have the best education, yeah, the best environment, best healthcare. It's more than within Americans' grasp, but you just got to believe in it and not believe the negative propaganda that says that other human beings are somehow different and are somehow taking what you don't have away. That's the negative propaganda we need to counter. There you go. I've said it. But the treaty is important. And if you haven't signed it, I wish to, let me bring it up on the screen for you. I'll bring it up on the screen for you because it's an important one. Because if you haven't signed it, you really should. And I want to encourage you. Here we are. If I put it up on the screen for you right now, there we go. I'll bring up, there we are. I think this is it. There we are. Oh, not that one. There we go. I'll bring it up in a moment for you. It's not that one either. But I'll bring it up in a moment for you. In fact, I'm going to put up the studio email address. Okay. You wish to obtain details of the treaty that brings Africans, particularly of the diaspora, particularly those of the historic diaspora, together. Send a message through to the Motivator Show 501 at gmail.com. Okay, the Motivator Show 501@gmail.com. We will send out the details of the treaty to you, and together we will make the difference. Okay, all righty. It's now time for those all-important lifestyle messages. Why am I considered so important? Because we're saving lives. Just reminding you is common sense messages. Okay, common sense messages which possibly you've heard too often and have therefore closed your mind to those messages and have continued to become overweight, become weighed down with illnesses, eating foods which you know in the long term are harmful, not exercising. Oh my gosh. Undue pressure, stress for undue periods of time. We need to change. We need to modify our lifestyle. But there are people, human beings, yes, fellow human beings who've studied and devoted their lives to healthcare and public health, who've got sound messages, not from me. Listen to the professor. Listen to what the professor says, not me, not the motivator. Listen to what the professor says. He's devoted his entire life to ensuring that the messages that he will share with you now are messages which are relevant to you. Okay? Messages he will share right now are messages which are relevant to you. Listen to the professor. Professor Kevin Fenton says, I'm a public health director. Here are 5 things you can do to improve your health. 1. Mindful and balanced eating. Nourish wisely. Eat whole, balanced meals with awareness to support energy and well-being. 2. Get outside. Be with nature. Time outside reduces stress, improves mood, and strengthens your connection to the world. 3. Stay curious, stay engaged, explore new interests, keep your mind sharp, build social contacts, and boost your happiness. 4. Get active, move it or lose it. Move daily, lift weight, and do cardio. Exercise, improve physical, mental, mood, and energy. 5. Prioritize rest and sleep. Disconnect, rest. Quality sleep supports mental clarity, emotional balance, and overall health. Common sense advice, huh? He's the professor. This is what he studied. Common sense advice. Okay? And if we followed those 5 advice, we would all be transformed. We would all be transformed. Common sense advice. I advise that you play that to yourself daily, to keep reminding yourself what we need to do to maintain healthy lifestyle, long, healthy lifestyle. It is essential. There are far too many people who are obese, overweight, fat if you like. There are far too many people weighed down with illnesses such as diabetes or high blood pressure, avoidable conditions. There are far too many people being weighed down with conditions that actually they should not have. But if you think about our lifestyle, think about what we do each day, we can defend ourselves against these ailments. Exercise, good food, positive mental attitude are remarkable panaceas to many of these conditions. Okay. And what I'm heartened by is the numbers of you who've heard these messages and have responded positively. We've come together in common aim and common purpose, understanding you pool your resources. You can have the facilities in order for you to live a longer, healthier life and build kinship with your neighbors, your friends, your network. okay? Because you exercise together, you're being together, you're being comradely, if you like, okay? You're really exhibiting what civilization relies upon, people to cooperate, work together in common aim and common purpose. In doing so, you maintain a healthy lifestyle. And in doing so, you've walled off many of those illnesses that so many people are weighed down by. And what I'm heartened by is the numbers of you who've heard those messages and have responded. Who've responded in a positive way, a practical way, pulled the resources, and have decided, yes, this is relevant to me. I want better for myself. I choose a healthy lifestyle. So watch this little short video. A group of people come together in common aim and common purpose. They're understood working together is the best way forward. Watch this video. Here we go. Come on now. I hope you're not sitting down. I hope you're not sitting down. You need to get up now. Listen, just shake your body a little bit. There you go. Try this. Try this now. There you go. Make all the difference. There you go. It's not too difficult. Bend your knees just a little bit. There you go. Just a small amount. There you go. Come together in common aim and common purpose. Yes, you can do this. Come, try this now. There we go. Come on, get off your seat. Come on now, please. Just do this together. There you go. We've got the interview in a moment. Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up. That's it. Stretch your arms, stretch your legs. That's it. Oh, I can feel you now. I can feel you. Oh, they're having fun, huh? Yes. Oh, she's waving to us. Together, we can all make a difference if we're working together. Regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your religious affiliation, regardless of your social class or education, whether you be tall or you're short, wide or you're thin, come together, collaborate together, and together we can make the difference. Forward, people, moving forward. That's the way forward. They pull their resources. Look at this. Absolutely. Oh, I hope you're up and down doing this now. Don't just watch them. That's it. That's it. Oh, I can see you doing it now. Come on. Hey, and those of you who are still sitting down, please, you need to get up. Come on. If only for a minute. Makes all the difference. That's it. That's it. Relatively simple exercises here, huh? That's right. I know here in London, and indeed across the world, we have the first of Messiah marches. Emancipation marches. I know those who were on those marches are pretty fit now. Hey, they walked a few miles. Good for you. Well done, all of you. Well done, well done. And in doing this, we take care of each other. We build community. We build bonds together. Because we care for each other. That's how human civilizations are built, reinforced and sustained. Never achieved through individualism, very simple. There you are. Was that good? Okay, I'm going to leave you now. There you are. Let's come back. Wasn't that good, huh? Absolutely. Hope you did a little bit of it, just a minute or two. Some exercise. Sitting down for a long period of time is not a healthy practice. Okay? If you've not been told that before, we're telling it now. I'm not an expert, but I know better as well. Okay? It's not an healthy thing to do. Get up, stretch. I did that during that interview. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Okay. Now we're to move forward and prepare for the main event, which will be in approximately 6 minutes' time. We're going to have our people from Jamaica. I know it's in the midst of night over there, but it's warm. It's lovely, I am telling you. Oh, lordy, lordy. Here I am in London, huh? But anyway. So they'll be joining us shortly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to help them into our digital room. So I'm going to play a minute or two of our intro video, get them in the room, and they will get the interview underway. If in doubt, ask questions. If you wish to speak to the studio and you're on YouTube or indeed Facebook, you can send us a message via the messenger. We'll see your messages, okay? There you are. Now then, I'm going to just play the intro video and get our guest into the digital room whilst it's happening. Okay, so please take note of the intro video. Here we go. Jamaica's $1 billion Ganja revolution. Imagine a Jamaica where the island's legendary Ganja fields aren't a source of persecution, but of prosperity. A Jamaica where the small farmer is the cornerstone of a thriving new industry. In 2015, this vision started to become a reality as the nation launched a daring economic experiment. This is the story of Jamaica's Ganja revolution and how one plant is set to redefine the future of a nation. President Barack Obama did not legalize cannabis at the federal level during his time in office in 2009 to 2017, but his administration made important policy changes that shifted how cannabis laws were enforced, especially in states that chose to legalize it. The principal change was, of course, federal non-interference, as exemplified by the Cole Memo of 2013, issued by Deputy Attorney General James Cole, told federal prosecutors not to interfere with state legal cannabis operations, as long as they follow strict rules such as no sales to minors or drug cartels. This gave legal protection to businesses in states like Colorado and Washington, which chose to legalize cannabis. The principal impact, it gave states the confidence to launch and expand legal cannabis markets despite federal prohibition, and also gave islands such as Jamaica the confidence to move forward. Thank you, President Barack Obama. Thank you. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. She was Jamaica's first woman Prime Minister. Her first terms, March 30th, 2006 to September 11th, 2007. Second term, January 5th, 2012, March 3rd, 2016. The Honourable Mark Golding, PNP leader since November 2020, formerly Minister of Justice between 2012-2016 under Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. He chaired the Cabinet Legislation Committee. Under his tenure, 121 acts were passed, including a reform to decriminalising ganja in 2015. The dangerous drugs Amendment Act of 2015, commonly known as the Ganja Law, was a historic milestone in Jamaica, particularly for Rastafari, who have long regarded cannabis, or ganja, as a sacred herb central to their spiritual and cultural lividity. Listen to the Honourable Mark Golding describes the benefit of the Act to the Rastafari community of Jamaica.
Of freedom of religious expression, we have used this as a basis for saying that the Rastafari people, who for the first time are recognized in any public statute of Jamaica, have a right to possession and use of ganja for their sacrament. They can apply also for 2014. We amended our criminal records legislation to provide that personal use would no longer attract a criminal record in Jamaica, and to provide for automatic expungement of all persons in the past who had a criminal record for personal use. And many thousands of people are in a position to benefit from that. Then we sort of analyzed the treaties and saw what space there was under the treaties from a technical legal standpoint for us to have some policy room for maneuver. And so what we have done is the constitutional rights of freedom of religious expression, we have used that as a basis for saying that the Rastafari people, who for the first time are recognized in any public statute of Jamaica, have a right to possession and use of ganja for their sacrament. They can apply also for they can apply for their places of worship to be designated as effectively exempt spaces where they can use their herbs, and for lands on which they can cultivate their herbs for sacramental use. And we've also come up with a concept of an exempt event, which is an event for the primary purpose of celebration of the Rastafari faith.
Now, listen to the words of the entrepreneurs, the farmers who will create the billion-dollar ganja industry here in Jamaica.
I'd like to thank Deputy Mark Golding for the opportunity to be able to plant 5 trees. Back in 2015, when he decriminalized it, it created a pathway for persons like me who excel at cultivating ganja and processing, right? And open up the doors for research and development and homegrown plants, right? Where you can grow 5 trees, as well as possess up to 2 ounces. And I just really want to thank Mark.
Here's a powerful quote from Ras Aya V, a prominent Rastafari elder and ganja advocate in Jamaica, following the passage of the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act of 2015, locally known as the Ganja Law. For years, we've suffered under the brutality of Babylon's system for using the herb. Now the government has finally acknowledged our right to use ganja as a sacrament. But this is only the beginning. We must ensure that Rastafari are not locked out of the industry we help create. Ras Aya V is chairman of the Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Farmers Association and a member of Jamaica's Cannabis Licensing Authority.
For personal use of up to 2 ounces of ganja or a spliff, you cannot be arrested, you cannot be charged, you cannot be prosecuted, and you cannot get a criminal record from it. And thousands of Jamaicans have had their criminal records expunged so that they can travel and apply for a visa, so they can work for the public sector, comrades. That was social justice legislation. That is the mission of the PNP in practice. That legislation recognized Rastafari in the law for the first time since independence, comrades. I was the person who penned the first order approving Rastafari Roots Fest in the grill.
Go with Golding. Jamaica's billion-dollar ganja revolution. Imagine a Jamaica where the island's legendary Ganja fields aren't a source of persecution, but of prosperity. A Jamaica where the small farmer is the cornerstone of a thriving new industry. In 2015, this vision started to become a reality as the nation launched a daring economic experiment. This is the story of Jamaica's Ganja Revolution and how one plant is set to redefine the future of a nation. President Barack Obama did not legalize cannabis at the federal level during his time in office in 2009 to 2017, but his administration made important policy changes that shifted how cannabis laws were enforced, especially in states that chose to legalize it. The principal change was, of course, federal non-interference, as exemplified by the Cole Memo of 2013, issued by Deputy Attorney General James Cole, told federal prosecutors not to interfere with state legal cannabis operations, as long as they follow strict rules such as no sales to minors or drug cartels. This gave legal protection to businesses in states like Colorado and Washington, which chose to legalize cannabis. The principal impact, it gave states the confidence to launch and expand legal cannabis markets despite federal prohibition, and also gave islands such as Jamaica the confidence to move forward. Thank you, President Barack Obama. Thank you. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. She was Jamaica's first woman Prime Minister. Her first term. Okay, it is important, those two personalities, both the President Barack Obama, okay, and of course, he wasn't able to change the federal law, but was able to prevent federal prosecutors pursuing those who smoked marijuana, or indeed we'll say ganja. Okay, very important. And secondly, as important, he reduced the tariff that would be paid by those who smoke marijuana. In other words, it was decriminalized for all intents and purposes. Okay, powerful, and it therefore gave countries across the Americas, across the world, and indeed the Caribbean, ideas that finally we're no longer under this stronghold. Okay, oh yeah. I think my guests are now beginning to arrive. So let me bring my guest in now, I think. Let's get this interview underway, because this is going to be truly powerful. There we go. And make sure my guests are in the room. Okay, in that case, we'll do this. Let's get this started, because I know many of you would hear what is happening in Jamaica. It is truly revolutionary. Yes, Cecil, I said it again, revolutionary. We're there. Oh my gosh, look at that bright face. Good morning to you, sir. Good morning.
Grand Rising, can you hear me?
We can indeed. We can indeed. You know, you're going to have to put your phone down somewhere so you are steady for us. When you're ready. Just tell us when you're ready. But it's good to see you. You look very bright, if I may say so. I know it's early morning there, and we're grateful for you to spend this time with us. Okay. So, my Ross, let's get this show underway. Are you ready?
Well, first of all, I'd like to apologize for the situation. I actually thought it was tomorrow, but anyway, it's very important.
It is indeed. It is absolutely now. He
Yes,
smiled. Okay, let's do this. Let's do
Yes,
this.
it is.
First of all, I'm going to invite you, please, my Ross, to just introduce yourself and say the name of the organization that you belong to, please. Just as an initial introduction, your name and your organization, please.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say, my good friend, Brother Martin, that in the presence of the Most
Or
High
the
God, the
Motivator.
great honor, the great art of
Uh,
divinity, the great
yeah.
motivator show. We give thanks for his grace, his mercy, and we bring you peace and goodwill. I am Russ Paulus Hoshing. I am the
Mhm.
chairman of the 6th region, 43. Ethiopian
Mhm.
World Federation, Charter 43, 6th region, Jamaica, West Indies. There you go,
Greatly.
motivator.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we
A question.
give thanks,
Yeah.
family.
Thank you for that introduction. I want to ask this question of you. Um, can you share with the viewers a milestone, an achievement of your organization in the past 12 months? Give me just one achievement, one milestone that's been achieved that you believe is significant.
Well, the most significant thing in the last 12 months is that we know that we have the rights to reclaim our position, our sovereign position. We have the rights to reclaim all the land that they have taken on
Yes.
for them to have it as their territory. So in the last 12 months, we have done what we call our sovereign policy document that will show the world that we have the rights to reclaim the Caribbean, particularly we in the Caribbean since time immemorial, since time of civilization, we've
Mhm.
always ruled in this area. So when
Mhm.
His Majesty declared the 6th region to be under the sovereignty of His Imperial Majesty in
Mhm.
1966, our lawyers has diligently gone through all the documents that is necessary for us now to be in a position to reclaim what has been taken by the European.
Mhm.
So that is our great accomplishment to be in the
Mhm.
position finally to restore our black man, the dignity of the African race, because we're certainly not slaves, as how we
We're
were.
certainly not.
We were
We're certainly
turned.
not. Okay.
We were what the European had turned us into.
Mhm. And thank you for that, because that's a very useful insight, you see, in terms of the organization and its purpose. Okay. And its purpose is very clear. Okay. And that is, in fact, to return dignity to the people. Okay. And this word seems to be a recurring theme in each of my regular podcasts. I've got to say, it's an interesting one. Okay. So, what I want you to do, if I may, just remind us of the. You've described your role and the organization, okay, and the 6th region, but I want you to just restate its purpose. Its purpose.
Could you just repeat that,
Can you
Council?
hear us? Yes.
Motivator, please.
Yes.
Just repeat that question because I
Of
was
course.
being
Yes.
distracted.
Yes. Not a
Uh,
problem. The you've described your name and the organization. Can you just, for the benefit of the audience, just remind the audience of the purpose of the organization, the EWF, for example, to which you
well,
are chairman? Yeah, please. Yeah, go ahead.
the EWF family is a divine government.
Hmm.
This is the government that His Majesty established and was established in 1937, the 25th of August, 1937. The Ethiopian World Federation, the Ethiopian World Federation was established for that purpose. Okay? The
Hmm.
Ethiopian World Federation, unfortunately, I've been distracted. This is why my mind is certainly, but just to reinforce it. The
Yes.
Federation was sent by His Imperial Majesty, having seen the evil that was done by the European and bringing
Mm.
us our people into what we call chattel slavery.
Yes.
His Majesty sent the Ethiopians primarily for that purpose, so that our people could learn of their true ancestors, could learn of their own king, their own kingdom, their own sovereignty, their own divine order that came from the Almighty God through the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church. As you know, we have the oldest church upon earth. Therefore, we have the oldest kingdom, the oldest sovereignty, going back 225 lineage of kings from the time of David, Saul, Solomon, you name all of them. So my family, when His Majesty was coronated, remember, His Majesty was already a king. In 1930, His Majesty became King of Kings, Lords of Lords, the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, the elect of God, an emperor. That means their Majesty became the absolute ruler here on earth by the authority of God. This is why His Imperial Majesty has impacted so much within the 21st century. So as it relates to the Federation, this is what was established and sent to us because we were brought into chattel slavery by the European Church and their sovereign so-called rulers of the European kingdoms. So this is what His Majesty has done for us. He has given us redemption. He has given us salvation to the church of His Imperial Majesty, the Ethiopian Orthodox Theodore, and through the Constitution. No other leader of earth has ever written a constitution for his people. So we much examine the authority of His Imperial Majesty because even the Rastas community do not seem to understand the authority of His Imperial Majesty. In fact, they have turned him, they've turned His Majesty into a religion.
I understand that. What I want to do, though, I want to keep focused on, of course, this important step
Please
forward.
keep me on course, Motivator, because you know there's so much information I have.
I'll keep you
me
on course.
course.
I'll keep you on course. So you call.
Thank you.
What we want to do, of course, we want to focus on the changes that has occurred in Jamaican society since 2015, which of course was the time of the previous PNP government under Portia Miller Simpson. Yeah. And of course, in 2015, an impressive politician by the name of Mark Golding led a piece of legislation through Parliament called the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act 2015, okay, or commonly known locally, I know, as the Ganja Law, okay. Can you just for the benefit of the audience here, just remind people the significance of that act and what it did for Rastas, those of Rastafari, those are part of that faith, what it did for them. What did it do, my Russ?
Well, that it was the most significant period in the history of Jamaican law. Because as you all know, ganja is our culture.
Yes.
So when you have a law that denies our people what is their natural culture and gave our youths criminal record for the entire period until they actually died, and when you have so many of our people in prison being killed because of this wonderful herb that was created by the Almighty Himself for the purpose of man to use, then you know that we were in very serious problem because this law made that every young person, every person that was caught smoking, which is part of our culture, was given a criminal record. As for the Rastafarian community,
can I ask you just to pause there? Forgive me, my Russ. Just so I just need that to impact on the audience. If you have a small amount of a herb, a plant, yeah, and you were smoking it, you could be arrested, charged, and given a criminal record. Oh, indeed, not only arrested and charged, but go to prison. Some people went into prison for years for having a herb and smoking a herb, a natural plant, a God-given plant. And it is, when you say that, most people around the world say, no, that's not possible. But yes, in Jamaica, that's exactly what was happening. It was an integral part of our culture, was being used against the people and resulted in tens of thousands, forgive me, hundreds of thousands of people. In 9 of it was over 2 million people, now 3 million people. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people being charged, persecuted, either fined or imprisoned for having been in the possession of a herb, a plant. That is totally barbaric. Totally barbaric. And these laws were only brought in 1938. Because, of course, we're using herbs in order to maintain our health. We use those herbs for medicinal purposes. Smoking just one, but we use it for medicinal purposes. It was a medicine. Our herbs, our plants are the medicine. And in 1938, the pharmaceutical companies, persuaded both American and indeed Caribbean countries and here in Europe to outlaw those natural medicine. And that is the genesis of those laws. It was greed, capitalistic greed, which resulted in the destroying of literally millions of lives. Sorry, my Russ, I interrupted, but I needed just to get that context for the
No,
audience to fully appreciate the historic context as to why these laws were brought in to prevent people using natural herbs, plants, as medicine, and therefore were compelled to buy these artificial medicines that are produced by pharmaceutical companies. Many are quite good, some are effective, but in order for them to gain prominence, they had to make many of the plants we use for not hundreds of years, but for thousands of years as medicine, and has sustained human race up until today. It's a profound story of wrong, of evil, in my view. My Ross, back to you.
well, as you said, apart from the fact that it was illegal, it
Mhm.
became illegal all over the world. But in
Indeed.
particular, because Jamaica, it has always been part of our culture.
Yes.
From the days before even Leonard Howell, who came
Yes.
along, as you know, and the Indians who came from India, who
Yes.
recognized the plant when they came here. I was
Yes.
able to tell the Africans the uses of this plant, the
Yes.
medical benefits of it. So it has
Yes.
been entrenched in our culture. If you come to Jamaica, it is
Mhm.
not something we just use for recreational, it's a
Mhm.
cultural plant. So
Yes.
when you have Jamaica with such a law that the entire youth were put in prison and
Yes.
got a criminal records for the rest of their lives, when you saw what they did to the Rastafarian community, if a Rasta
Yes.
man was caught with a seed, one
Yes.
seed, he was
Yes.
locked up and given
Yes.
his criminal record.
Can you
If
imagine?
in
Oh my
most
gosh.
cases
Hey.
they were
Mm.
prisoners, some of them lost their lives because of this
Yes.
plant and
Yes.
all the brutality that was
Mm.
meted out by the so-called security forces against
Yes.
our own people. In fact,
Yes. Mm.
this law was so evil that
Yes.
many of our young youths, our
Mhm.
men, were then caught
Mm.
up into the jailhouses because many of
Mm.
our poor people, once their
Mm.
money
Mhm.
was no longer available
That's right.
to pay for their lawyers,
That's
they were
right.
just left in the system. There was a
That's right.
recent case where a man was in the system for over 50 years
Oh no.
because of a
50
spliff.
years. Hey,
Yes,
one
50
Smith.
years because
50. Oh.
fifth for a spliff. Because why?
Mm.
He comes from poor class and he
Mhm.
was put in prison. And because they could not afford lawyers, he was
Yes.
just left abandoned in the system. You see,
Mm.
when people speak about Black life
Mhm.
doesn't matter,
Mm.
we in Jamaica, we've
Mhm.
always had an apartheid system where the
Indeed.
plantocracy is the
Mhm.
one that has benefited from all the shackle slavery and the
Yes.
corruption that is happening.
Yes. It
So
is
when you
true.
go to prison, you don't see no rich children. You don't
No.
see no plantatic class in prison. You
No.
don't see no Chinese. All
No.
you see is our own people fill up
Yeah.
the prison because of a spliff, because it's our culture.
Can
So
you
this
imagine? Mm.
was
Mm.
very, very important
Mhm.
that this bill, this law, a
Mhm.
minister somewhere could have seen the evil of it and
Mhm.
actually to take action. Well, this is what Mark Golding did. as
Well
Minister
done,
of
Mark
Justice. Not
Golding.
even,
Well done, Mark
yes, well,
Golding. Go on.
we have to
Keep
talk
saying
in
it.
many ways. Many will say that Mark is a mulatto, Mark is white.
No,
The
stop
fact
all that.
is,
Stop all that. No, we
we
focus
don't
on
look at
him.
the color of a man's skin. What we look at
Mm-hmm.
the action. And this was the
Absolutely.
very first time in the history of Jamaican political arena that a
Mm-hmm.
minister of government,
Mm-hmm.
particularly minister of justice, saw
Mm-hmm.
that this law was the most draconian, and
Mm-hmm.
therefore Mark Golding took it upon himself
Mm-hmm.
to come amongst the Rastafarian
He
community
did. He
in
did.
order for
Yes.
him to get all the necessary information. So
Mm-hmm.
Mark didn't just acted
Mm-hmm.
upon impulse or his own self ambition. Mark
Mm-hmm.
came motivated. Believe you me, this is why the
Yes.
relationship between myself, the Rastafarian, and Mark, it
Mm-hmm.
started to grow, because just like
Yes.
the Honorable Michael Manley, which I will say is honorable, just
Yes.
as why Michael Manley was given the rod of correction,
Mm-hmm.
because under the PNP, no matter the fact they came down from the British
Mm-hmm.
so-called system of governance,
Yep.
under the PNP, they have broken the social barrier, allowing
Yes.
black people with black skin access to
Yes.
schools and to be
Yes.
able to get work in all
Yes.
offices, where up until
Yeah.
then black people wasn't
Comrade
even allowed
Manley.
in their
Absolutely.
own
Yes.
country. The
Yes.
black skin could not work in those shops, and that's a fact. Well, the
Yes.
great honorable Michael Manley, he
Yes.
did that because of the
Yes.
relationship he had
PNP
uniquely with the
party.
Rastafari
PNP
community.
party. Well done. Keep going,
So
my
there
boss.
we come
Keep going.
along.
Yes.
We come along as we come along now in what we call the 21st century. And
Mm-hmm.
there come Mark Golding, not as a
Yes.
prime minister, but a minister of justice. So therefore, Mark must have had this thinking about this draconian law long before he even
Mm-hmm.
entered politics or the government. So
Can,
Mark
can,
came
can I just
amongst
say,
us.
can I just say before you go on there, it's really important, and as part of my preparation for this broadcast, I had to look at the history and the context. So I've referred to already the the uh, the 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 plutocrats who own the pharmaceutical companies were able to influence politicians by politicians to enact laws that outlawed the use of our medicinal medicine, those plants we use for medicinal medicine, back in 1938. But it's also important, America's first African American president, or maybe second, but let's say for now, in the 21st century, first African American president, President Barack Obama. Okay. Whilst he couldn't change the federal legislation in relation to what they call cannabis over there, or marijuana, yeah, they couldn't change it. But what he was able to do was to reduce its severity, to declassify it as being a Class A drug. Okay. And also instruct the federal prosecutors to no longer pursue cases where someone had a spliff for personal use. And as a result, it has a transformative impact on American society, particularly those states that had already made legal the personal use of cannabis in those states, particularly Colorado and Washington states. Okay. And now the growing of cannabis or hemp in their cases is now a multi-billion-dollar industry, and the state in taxes are taking billions of dollars in state taxes as a result. Okay. So I want to remember and appreciate Barack Obama, because it was that presidential leadership that caused the change across the world, and most certainly in the Caribbean. But I also want to give a praise, if I may, my Ross, to the previous PNP leader, that Portia Simpson Miller, okay, first woman prime minister of Jamaica, okay, she appointed the Honourable Mark Golding, okay, into the cabinet, Okay, she recognized its gift, its compassion for the people. She recognized his diligent determination to do good for all Jamaicans, not just some Jamaicans. And she appointed him and let him lead on that all-important act of Jamaican Parliament, the Drug Amendment Act of 2015, now known as the Ganja Law, which effectively recognized Rastafari, Rastas' use of ganja has been a sacrament, something sacred to them. It's part of their rituals. And we therefore should respect and honor them for that reason. Praise Jah, Rastafari. I want to commend Comrade Mark. He is something, what he's demonstrated, Comrade Mark Golding, what he's demonstrated is a compassion, a determination, a bravery that I have to say too few politicians possess. I interrupted you, but please continue, my Ross. Please continue.
No, I must give credit to Mr. Mark Golding.
Praise Jah.
What he has done for the poor people, the majority of our race, our people here in Jamaica,
Mhm.
is what breaking what we call the yoke of poverty.
Indeed.
Because this bill denied us
Mhm.
access to this plant. But yet
Mhm.
the rich, the plantocracy class,
Mhm.
always grew it, always exported to Americas and all over, and all enriched
Say it, my
themselves,
Ross. Say it. Say it.
while the
Yep.
majority
Say it.
ended up in
Yes.
prison as
Yes.
criminals.
Say it.
So what
Yes.
Mark did was not only break the poverty class,
Mhm.
but he also gave our future, our youth,
Say it.
a
Yes.
future,
Yes.
because no
Yes.
longer our youths were given criminal records
Hmm.
just because of doing smoking this wonderful plant
Yeah.
and
A
having
plant.
it as
Again, I want
a
to emphasize,
sacrament,
my
a
people,
plant.
it's a plant. It's a plant. They're going to prison, getting criminal records, couldn't access jobs, couldn't access housing, couldn't get a visa because of that criminal record for smoking a plant. Yep, not some,
That's what it has
not
been.
some pretty chemicals. Smoking a plant.
Not
Hey,
heroin, cocaine, or anything
no,
that is
no.
very, very
Ah,
destructive to the human body,
ah,
but a plant that the world has now acclaimed to be
God-given
the most
plant. Ah,
medicinal plant that you'll find on this planet. Because there's
absolutely.
so much aspect of this plant that one
Yeah.
still doesn't even know,
Indeed,
right? But
indeed,
we have
indeed.
certain knowledge of it that we can cure every cancer that you have currently
Hmm.
affecting all of the majority of humanity all over the world. When cancers become a number one killer of humanity, we have a plan that get rid of it immediately. So you
It
see,
is
family,
interesting.
this is
If
what
I may, my
we've
Ross,
suffered for.
I just want to be careful in terms of the claims. What I will say, if I may say, there is a tradition among most Jamaican and indeed Caribbean and most African families that you go through a process of detoxing. Yeah? Okay, you use cerasee, for example, to make sure that you cleanse your body. Yeah, we all know it. Yeah, particularly Jamaica, you know cerasee and how bitter it is, but we know for certain that particular plant has significant positive impact on our bodies. We know to eat the herb, okay, has significant remedial impact on our bodies, boosting our immunoresponse. Yep, in promoting healthy lifestyle. It is absolutely true. I'm not going to comment on the cancer claim, but I can say that you want to avoid cancers, he says, as much as you can, as you want to boost your immune response, have a prevention to cancer rather than claiming to cure cancer. But it most certainly has significant impact on our bodies. There's no doubt about that. I just want to make sure, in terms of cancer claim, I want what you should do, bring other people who only consume the herb as a part of a cancer a cancer treatment program, and let them speak for themselves. We don't want to make claims here because we're not a clinician. We want the people who benefited to actually make them claims because they've experienced it for themselves. But my Ross, continue, because we want to focus on the role of the Honourable
Well,
Mark
I'm not
Golding.
making a claim. What it is, as you know,
Mhm,
Jamaica was the first country under
mhm.
the great Michael Manley to do a scientific research regarding
It
this
is true.
plant.
It is true.
This
Yep.
research is what astonished the world, our
It is true.
revelation that was
Yes.
led by the great Professor Lockhart. So Jamaica
Yes.
has been way, way ahead from the rest of the
It is
world.
true.
It is our scientific research that brought the
Yes.
attention of
It
the
is true.
entire international scientific
It
world
is
to
true.
this plant.
It is
So
true.
we have been maintaining once science has
Mhm.
broken the barrier. We
Yes.
didn't give up even though it was illegal. Our science continued. And
Yes.
our knowledge of this plant, we do have 5 scientific formulas that has been done by our scientists that proves that we can eliminate the 5 major cancers that is devastating the human race, from breast cancer of the woman, cervical cancer, you name it, we can get rid of it because this plant, the original one that is known as the kali tree, the kali herb,
Yes.
that brought the
Yes.
sensimina, the original strain,
Yes.
the
Yes.
trichomes. Those of you who
Yes.
understand the plant,
Mhm.
there's an
THC.
ingredient
Yes.
in it that the scientists call trichomes. This
Yes.
is the glistening on the buds. Well,
Yes. The
that
active
glistening,
ingredient.
trichomes
Yes.
are
Yes.
totally, it's priceless. It is
Yes.
absolutely priceless. It is more
Yes.
precious than gold because the
Indeed.
trichomes restore all your organs if they're damaged. It
It is true.
cures all your cancers. So
Mm.
when we speak of the value of this plant, and people think it's just the buds,
Mm.
recreation, and all the other things and the different byproduct, we
Mm.
must remember that Jamaica has what we call the Kali, the
Yes.
original sativa woman that
Yes.
all other strains of modern
Of
21st century
come out of.
came
Yes.
from the original woman,
It is
the
true.
sativa, the Kali herb, the
Yes.
indica, the lamb's bull, you name it.
Electrical.
What the
Electrical.
world came
Yes.
to Jamaica for. And
Yes.
Jamaica became known all over the world. In fact, it is what brought our tourist industry to the
It is
position
true.
that it's in today. The
True.
world knows us for what we have.
Hmm.
But they up in America, as you know, those evil American so-called FDA, the federal government, they have tried to stop our people from
Hmm.
prospering with this plant. So they're the one that is responsible for this law all over the world because they were protecting their own interests because US hemp oil get every 6 months from a Jamaica. Our ganja, our oil was
Say
sent
it
to
loud.
America all
Say
those
that
years,
loud. Say
making
it
millions
loud. Say
and
that
millions
loud.
and millions for the
That's right.
plantocracy
Say it loud.
class of
Say
the
it loud.
so-called mulattoes of Jamaica, the
Now, let's be
plantastic
careful now.
class that we
Hold on
call
now.
them.
Let me do it again. I need to moderate the language, so I'm going to get this right. It is
I am
true.
not racist.
I know you're not, but I need to just, for the language here, I need to get it right. It is important to note that Jamaica has not gone through a process of uh, coming to terms with its past. So the families that enslaved the majority of Africans in Jamaica post so-called independence retained their control over the Jamaican economy. Okay? So tightly that it was impossible for politicians to make those changes. And that's why we talk about Norman and most certainly Michael Manley, but they broke the mold. Okay, so the families that became enriched on the blood and sweat of Africans in Jamaica did not give a penny in compensation. They have not paid reparations. To date, there's not been a national discourse on those families and the enormous wealth and indeed influence that they exert over Jamaica and indeed other countries across the Caribbean and beyond. There's been no national discourse. I hope the next PMP government will take this issue up and consider reparations is appropriate. Okay. Secondly, and I just want to emphasize this if I may, it is important to note though that it's easy, therefore, to blame the politicians for their abject failures. Okay. But politicians are only as powerful as organized as the people. It is the people that need to care. It's the people that want change, and the politicians will therefore lead that change. And that's why I'm looking forward to the next elections in Jamaica, which have to be called within the next 6 months. Okay, because
No, it's going to be
it
called very
changed.
soon, my brother.
Praise God. We're looking for it. We're looking for it
Yes,
because the
the
theme
election
is
is going to be called
change.
this Sunday.
Yes, well, so I understand. The
Okay.
theme is change. Jamaicans want change. Happened here in Britain. Change was the theme. Yep. Change brought in Barack Obama. Change is the theme. Okay. So Mark Golding and the PMP are on the right track. Change. People want change. They want better. They want improvement. Yeah. They want dignity. Yeah. They want their lives back. Yeah. They don't want to live from hand to mouth. They want growth. They want to be able to strive for and realize their ambitions. That's what they want. Simple things, nothing unduly. They don't want to become super rich. They just want to be able to live comfortably so they can
They
take care of
just want the
themselves and their
basic
families.
human
Praise God.
rights. The
Say it.
basic human rights. Their justice is what our
Yes,
people seek.
that's
Up
right.
until
That's right.
today, our people do not have justice in their own country.
Imagine.
Talking about in foreign lands, in our own country, we've never had justice. That is why
Already.
you will never have peace. And as it relates to Jamaica, this is why I have to commend Mark Golding for what he
Okay.
did for our poor people in Jamaica, the majority.
Yes.
This is
Yes.
why when we say that we will give Mark Golding the rod of justice, because
Oh,
just like
say that again. Oh,
Michael
hold
Manley,
on. Stop that. Stop that. You
the
say again?
rod of the
The
rod
rod
of
of
justice,
justice. Yes, I like that.
because
Say
no
it
matter of
again.
the fact,
Right.
the
Yes.
rod of justice, as you said
Uh-huh.
earlier, the
Uh-huh.
Plantagenet
Uh-huh.
was given reparation. As you know,
Yes.
when they emancipated us, they were
Yes.
paid
They
for the
were
loss of our
compensated.
labor,
What
of
a
the
thing, eh?
enslavement of our people.
What a
This is
thing.
why the
Hey.
Plantagenet class throughout the Caribbean are still the rulers of the
That's right.
Caribbean, even
Yes.
though they brought down this ideology of democracy of one man, one vote. They may give us one man, one vote, but the fact is, they're the one that controls the government. They're the
Yes.
ones who control who is elected as
Mm.
prime minister and
Mm-hmm.
any cabinet ministers government. They
Mm-hmm.
control it because they hold the power of economy in their hands, being the one that was compensated and rewarded for losing the labor of our African brothers that was brought from the west coast of Africa across the Atlantic Ocean, that was the Ethiopic Ocean, into the Caribbean to slave for the rest of their days and to ensure that the white man stays in the position of white supremacist given by
Okay.
his God, the white
Hey.
skin
So
given a religion of authority.
let me just get this right, though. The question of power and influence. I'm going to accept that they have influence, but they do not have power. It's we, the people, that have the power, our numbers and our determination, our conviction. We, the people, have the power. And that's why it was possible for the Honourable Mark Golding, the leader of the PNP party now, yeah, to put in place this legislation, in all important critical legislation. It was possible because we, the people, have the power. And it is up to the plutocracy, those who are super uber rich, to create the illusion of power in their hands. And if you believe that your opponent is all powerful, when you enter the boxing ring, you've already been defeated. Mark Golding's
Well,
demonstrated a mindset that says no. We need to do better for the people. It is against the national interest to have always talent in prison, castrated, without able to get jobs, without being able to be economically viable. It is against the national interest. It is ludicrousy. It is madness. And he was very clear in his conviction of what many of his speeches in preparation for this transmission. His speeches were clear and direct. Change is coming. Change soon come. Praise God. Over to
change
you,
is a
Alex.
must, not an
Yeah.
option.
Yes.
And I'm calling on all Jamaicans, whether you're Rastafarians, no matter what mansion, this election is not just another election. This election is it's going to determine the present and the future of our race. As you
Indeed.
can see, family, under the Andrew Holness administration, Jamaica is being invaded by the Chinese. In fact, China has taken over every shop, every commercial zone in Jamaica. We're no longer be talking about the Europeans, the Jews, and all those that were in control already. We now have the Arabs. Motivator. The Arabs has been sold land. So we not just have the Chinese, we have the Spanish taking over all our beaches that Jamaica now penned in our islands. We haven't got access to the beaches. Then you have the
Nothing.
Chinese taking over all the interior, all the exterior. If you come to Jamaica, you will soon have to speak Mandarin. And as for the Arabs is regionally, we have a strategic island called Goat Island. If one goes and research it, it's one of the most strategic point because every ship that comes from east and come west must pass that position. Mr. Andrew Holness is alleged to have sold it to the Chinese,
Oh,
one of
wow.
our most strategic points. So you
Wow.
see, family, this is not
Wow.
about politics of orange and green because I am black and comely. This is nothing to do with that. This is to do with the future of our race, Jamaica. So I am calling on all Jamaican to take position in this election. This is not about politics. This is about leadership. And what we can say to you, our preference choice of leader right now is the man that took the time to come out of his nice environment because Mark is a very rich man. He doesn't need to be involved in government if
Indeed.
anyone thinks he's in there like the rest of them who seem to use the government as their only way for corruption to become rich like all those have done during
We'll not digress now, my
previous
Ross. Let's keep
cabinet.
focused. Let's focus on Mark now. Let's keep focused on Mark now,
Mark
my Ross.
Golding doesn't need to be in government. Mark is only in it for one purpose, is to correct the evil that his ancestors has done to our people. So this is Mark's ambition. We know this because Mark sit with the Rastafarian community. I was asking you, Motivator, to go and find many of those pictures that is in the newspaper. Myself, Bunny Whaler, some of the
Yes.
great Rastafarian elders. We sat with Mark, Mark sat with us, and we
Wow.
went through all the policies, all the documents that was needed for him, the great lawyer, to come up with this wonderful bill that finally broke the yoke of poverty and gave our people a future
Yes.
within that because we now have access. All of us can grow this plant if we want to. We all have access to it because of the fact that this man, Mr. Mark Golding, took the time to spend with the Rastafarian community. And
Yes.
because of that, we have given him the rod of justice.
Rod of
Because when you break
justice.
the
The
law,
rod of
the
justice.
rod
Let
of
me say it again. The
justice,
rod of
as
justice.
justice
Right.
minister, we got justice finally. And many Jamaicans still doesn't know you know how important. I cannot find a word in English to explain what the Rastafarian community with Mark Golding, what we did for Jamaican, the majority of our poor people that still got criminal records for just a
Yes.
little split.
Yeah.
Some
Can you
were shot.
imagine? Yeah.
Some end up in the system
Yeah.
for over 50 years because they couldn't afford any more money to pay the so-called fancy lawyers.
That's right. That's right. And
So I
it's
must
important
thank
to
Mark Golding. And
and I think it's
hear
right.
this.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Mark Golding understand the position that Jamaica was given a position and the OAU, the Organization of African Unity, which is now the AU. Mark is very, very cognizant of that fact. So we know, based upon the discussion that we've had, that with Mark Golding being the next elected prime minister from this government to secure the future of this nation, Mark will not be like Barbados. You see, a lot of ones is jumping over.
Hold on. Before, if I may, my last, I'm not going to on this podcast would criticize other Caribbean islands and their policies.
No, we're not criticizing. What I'm
What I
trying
want
to
to do,
show you the difference.
hold on, no. I don't want to do that. I want to remain focused on Jamaica. I will remain focused on the
Well,
achievement of the Honourable
just for
Mark
you
Golding.
to understand,
Okay.
Counselor, in order for
No,
our
the
country
motivator now.
to
The
have a
motivator.
position as a republic motivator, you have to be recognized by a sovereign, a country who has sovereign authority. So in the position of Barbados being republic, Barbados was given that position by the British sovereign rulers. So what it means is that they may change the label and saying they no longer under the sovereignty of King Charles. But the fact is, the British still owns the island, all the business of Barbados. So going republic is another so-called brand of deception. This is why Mr. Andrew Hollis is trying to follow that position, because once you become republic, there's many things that this administration have done since they've been in the last 8 years. You've heard of the corruption in Jamaica. You've heard of the misspent of government funds. You've heard that ministers, what they're doing, who's got offshore accounts in Cayman Island, in Switzerland, just like those African leaders that is under the pawns of Europe that continue to undermine their own people.
Why I
Well,
give
this is a
praise to
position.
President Ibrahim Traore, who's broken that illusion.
What a wonderful youth. I said,
There you go.
when Mr. Andrew Holness came to position, we thought that Jamaica would have been on a different trajectory, because we thought a young man that was born in independence, not in the time of enslavement or before it, would have a better mindset as what was needed for people. But we've watched this young man. He's only taken on the policies of the enslaver. Since his election and the COVID-19, we've watched him go to Mr. Trump and wait in the waiting room like a little boy, came out smiling with Mr. Bill Gates and Mr. Fushi. Next thing, we were locked down and being injected. Then it is alleged that for his reward, Andrew is now part of the Privy Council, the same council that holds down black people all over Africa and the Caribbean, the Privy Council. We then saw Andrew go to Israel, giving that evil prime minister in Israel the support of Jamaica.
Can I, if
Now,
I may then,
tell me, people,
my Ross,
when
again, you
just
keep,
hold on,
hold on, my
motivator.
Ross,
Just
no,
hold
you
on,
keep going,
motivator.
you're going too far now, you're going too far for me. I want to
Okay,
focus on
okay.
Jamaica. I want to focus on Jamaica. I want to focus on the looming general election. I want to focus on the achievement
Well,
of
the
Honourable
looming general
Mark Golding.
election
Yes.
between the two candidates that is being put in themselves, I am telling the world that the only one that can lead this nation into the 21st century is Mark Golding. Because Mark Golding has shown humility. He has shown the patience amongst our people. He has spent time with the Rastafari community to break this evil law that kept down the majority of the black skin in Jamaica. So I'm asking, family, this is not just another election between green and orange, because what they've done in Jamaica, they've turned politics, government into a tribal politician. So you'll find green and orange. You're either the green, which is JLP, or the orange, which is PNP. And what they've done over the years, they've created garrisons all over the country. So we do not really have a functioning democracy. What we have is a selection, because in every garrison, if you're green, every single person in that area must vote for JLP. And if you go to another garrison and it is orange, every single one must vote for the PNP. So you see, we do not really have democracy. It looks like it, but it's not. We have a selected government policy that those above we use the people just to get into parliament. And once they get in, it becomes a lifetime career. Just as you see, Jamaica is the only place I know where you can find the same person from the beginnings of his political career still in the same party, and every time they're re-elected, these same people are the ones that are put into position of ministerial duty. So it's the only place where becoming a government, it is actually a career in
Okay.
Jamaica,
If I may
because
then, my
those who
boss,
get in,
okay, if I may, my boss, and I hear you, and to some extent, what you're describing in relation to politics in the Caribbean, not necessarily just Jamaica, or indeed here in Britain, are very similar. Okay, the term garrison is a term that I'm familiar with, but you elaborated. That is, a garrison is where it's a single party constituency, if you like, okay,
yes,
which consistently only returns a single party colour, okay, whether it be green or orange. This is true. They're part of Kingston just like that. This is true. But there are others which are a little purple, where a mixture of the two, where you have the opportunity to change from one colour to another, one tribe to another. This is true. Often this happens where it's a question of education amongst the people. Okay.
yes, it is.
Absolutely, it is, yep. And what I note, of course, is about security as well. And what Mark Golding has emphasized, and I've studied many of his speeches, that he wants to invest in the people. So the Drug Amendment Act of 2015 was effectively an act to invest in the people, so the people have an opportunity to realize their personal potential, whatever it might be, across the arts, across industry, across commerce. Okay, therefore, it's in the national interest to invest in the people. Okay, where the plutocrats and others want to keep as much information, as much knowledge to the small minority, in the mistaken belief, by keeping all the knowledge, all the information to themselves, that they can control the undereducated majority. But history has taught us many, 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 many times prior that is a recipe for disaster. And therefore, the only options for the overwhelming majority of Jamaicans is to vote PNP. If they want a party that will invest in the people, invest in the infrastructure, which is important, invest in
My dear
education, in
motivator,
schools. Yes, I am. Go on.
you see, because the two political parties, since recently, the people, less than 40% of the electoral voters turned out for any election. So what you currently have is an elected government elected by a minority within a minority. So you see, this is not about politics, it's about leadership. It
Yes,
is not about PNP or GLP, it's about leadership. And
yes,
one thing that I can confidently say about Mark Golding has demonstrated to us his leadership quality. He's not
absolutely,
here for
absolutely.
personal gains, family.
No, no, he's
Mark
rich
has
already,
committed
very rich.
himself.
Yes,
Mark has committed himself to correct the violation of his ancestors. That is what Mark is here to do. He doesn't need to be in government, family. So
mhm,
I'm asking, this is not about, it's about leadership, not politics or green or orange. So I'm not going to use the word PNP or GLP because the both of them has created the system that keep the majority down. I'm
mhm,
talking about leadership.
yes,
Who is best equipped to form the next government of our nation? The
yeah,
island that Harry Belafonte, the great singer,
yes,
sang
yes,
so much wonderful, The Island in the Sun.
yes.
Who is the best to lead this nation? Well, I can categorically tell the world Mark Golding is the one that the Rastafarian community has worked it in to break this law, the most evil. And it is Mark Golding we will continue to course, to charter the course of our nation because
Nation.
Mark understands.
Rastafari. Yes.
He understands it is easy for a rich man to understand the poor, to come down if he has humility and see the poverty of the poor and knows that he has to do something. Than it is a
Yes.
poor man who see richness and become red-eye and wants to become rich, which
Yes.
this is the position of this young man. This young man is used his position to enrich himself. There is so much information of how this young man has used the Jamaican taxpayers' money as if his own personal bank account to withdraw for his fallen ministers. Right now, we have 5 ministers that is under
Well, yes,
investigation
that's right. Yes.
for some serious, serious crimes against the people.
Yes.
That is
Yes,
why it
indeed.
is said that they want to go to republic, because if they go to republic, these 5 ministers
Make it
will escape. They will escape being punished for the evil that they've done, including the head of their government.
Indeed.
So it is
Indeed.
important, people, that this election is not about green or orange. It is about leadership.
Leadership.
And as you
Well
all
said.
know, we've only had one great leader before Mark. We've had the Honorable Michael Manley, and we know what he
Yes.
did for black people. The
Yes.
social class black people wasn't allowed to vote, own
Can you
land,
imagine?
work in any store. They weren't allowed to do that in their own country.
Can you imagine?
Well,
Can you
Michael did
imagine?
that. Well, we
Yes.
also had the great Portia, the
Yes.
woman, as you know, who cared very much for her people. And she laid a foundation that
Yes.
should have propelled us.
Yes.
This is why we have to give thanks for her vision to
Yes.
install Mark Golding as
Yes.
Minister of Justice.
Yes.
This
Yes.
is what we must thank Portia for. And Portia and myself, the Honorable Portia Minna, she's a wonderful woman. I know her personally. Anytime I see her, she comes and give me a hug, which I always appreciate, love the warmth of her. No, Portia is a prime minister for the people, as you know.
Yes. Yes.
And
Very much so.
it was so evil. A lot of people don't know the amount of pressure that
Yes.
Portia was under as leader. Because you have these male who believe that they were more qualified. And
Indeed.
instead of assisting her, even in her own party, they
Yeah.
tried to set little traps for her.
It's a
So I
shame.
must big up our Portia Simpson, just as I have bigged up Michael Manley from
Yes.
the PNP. At the moment, I do not see any of the opposition that I can big up, because from Buster Manti destroying the Rasta community, there's not
Indeed.
much I can really say about the JLP, because all I've seen they've done, they've just ruined our economy. That's all they've
Yes.
ever done.
I
They
have
keep
indeed.
on, parading themselves as the people that creates economy, but they're not. They're the ones who destroy economy for the interests of the Americans and all of the so-called rich investors, the
Yes.
Chinese, the
Yes.
Arabs. This is what they have done, family. So
Thank
in
you for
order to
that.
stop the Chinese invasion, please, Jamaicans, this election, if you want to return to your land of your ancestors, like myself, the land of my mother, my father, my great grand, and so forth, please take an intervention. Do not allow the JLP, or let us not even go into political party. Let us not choose this leader who is presently in, because let I tell you, Andrew has gone to Israel and Andrew has brought back with him
Can I
Israel's
again?
security policy.
I just want to keep focused on Jamaica. Keep going elsewhere. I want to keep you
Yes,
focused
I
there.
keep on, but I
Yeah,
need to tell
no, I
because
don't want
the
to go there.
world
No,
is
I'm not.
aware of
I
these
know.
things.
No, I don't want to go there. I want to make
Okay, my
sure.
motivator.
We don't want to go there. I want to make sure we're focused on what is likely to be
Well,
a
the
looming general
election
election.
is the
Yes.
most
Mm,
important election since they gave us
mm.
emancipation and
Indeed.
independence of our nation. The
Indeed.
future
Indeed.
of our youths, to
Yes.
protect them in order to secure the future generation.
Hmm.
We have a better opportunity with Mark Golden.
Thank you.
Mark has sat with
You
us, as I
said the
told you.
rod. What did you say? The
You
rod
know,
of what? The rod of what you say
the
for him?
rod of justice, the
The
rod
rod
of
of
justice.
justice. The rod of justice. There
That
you
is
are,
what
Mark
we have
Golding. Yeah,
declared of Mark
the rod of
Golden.
justice. There you go.
The rod of justice, because without
Yes.
justice, we will
Yes.
never have peace, neither in Jamaica, in
Uh-huh.
Africa, in the entire world that we were so wonderful placed upon by the great supreme creator.
Change
Without
come. Change
justice,
come. Go on, said
no
it now,
peace.
Yes, there you go.
That's what
There's
it
no
is.
peace.
So, Mark
Now,
Golden, I want to let the world know, my brother. I refer to you
mhm,
as a brother because
indeed.
you have always spoken. As I said, did you find those pictures, Mr. Motivator,
I've
of
got quite a
myself,
number of
Mark
them.
Golden?
Yes, I've seen
Yes,
quite a
try and
number.
show the world that we're
Yeah.
not lying. People may think
Uh,
I'm telling you little porkies and that the PNP must have
just so we,
paid me. They must
mm,
have paid me to come and say nice things. No, it's not. I am telling you the truth, people.
and it's
Mark
important.
Golden is the only choice for
Mhm.
the present and the future of this nation that I love, we love so much. So I'm
Yeah.
calling upon all Jamaicans, all the Rastafarian movements. As you know, we've always been the third choice. We've had the PNP on one side, the JLP, but they forgot the middle. We are the Rastafarian that keeps the two together.
Mm.
So we, in order to go forward, Motivator, we have declared, Mark Golden, you have the rod of justice
The rod
to
of
bring our
justice.
people finally, for us to have justice in our own land, and we're not
Absolutely.
under the papal doctrine of the European. We're
Hmm.
not under the Jacolian law that gave every Jamaican a criminal record,
Indeed.
knowing that ganja is
Mhm.
part of our culture.
A plant. A plant.
And
Can you
with that,
imagine? Hmm.
Mark has started the position to rebuild the dignity of the
Yes.
black man.
Absolutely.
Because once you've broken that law and opened the corridor for all black people equally, it
Yes.
means that we're able to plan the present and the future of our
Yes.
economy.
It's
And that is what you may have heard Mark has already said, because we've sat with Mark. We've said to Mark, Mark, the ganja can subsidize all the farming industry. What
yes.
the
Yes.
farmers must be taught, Mark, by the Rastafarian, as you know, the Rasta knows about this plant more than anyone. We've
Yes.
now got all the different new strains and everything. What we've
Yes.
told Mark, Mark,
Yes.
every farmer must plant at least half
Hmm.
an acre
Don't give
amongst
too much
all the
away
other
here.
produce.
My mouse, hold on, my mouse. Don't give too
Oh,
much away
okay,
just here.
okay.
Not too
Well,
much away.
anyway,
No, no, not too much away.
the
Let me be
the
clear.
ganja
But my
family.
Voss, hold on a second. My Voss, we're almost out of
Uh,
time. So what I want to
mm.
do here is this. Got maybe another minute or so to conclude. Okay, and I just want to make sure you've understood. You are supporting you want good governance, good leadership. Okay? That's what you want. Good governance, good leadership. That's what you want. Ethical leadership. That clearly is the Honourable Mark Golding. Yep,
Mark Golden.
MP.
There you go. You didn't have to
Absolutely.
say. That
There you
is
go.
because he has proven it, my friends.
There you go. There you go. Well
He has
said. Well
proven
said.
it, he's demonstrated it. So
Yes. Yep.
we are looking forward
Yes.
to finally bringing back the dignity of our race, particularly
Mhm.
Jamaicans at home and abroad. Because
Yes.
as I said, we've had some wonderful reasoning with Mark concerning the present and the future.
You have. You
And
have.
Mark will take this nation
Mhm.
into the position that we can finally celebrate
Yeah.
64 years probably of independence
Absolutely.
and to
Well
know
said.
why we're finally independent. Because why? We finally got justice.
Well
After
said.
all these, in fact, 500 years we've been seeking justice. From emancipation, we've been seeking it. Well, Mark
Praise Jah.
Golding came and breaker it.
Praise Jah.
And if he
Well
has
said.
done that, remember, he has done this as just a minister of
Indeed.
justice. Can you imagine what we're going to do with him being prime minister
I'm so
to form the
excited.
next
Oh, yeah,
cabinet?
yeah. My
No,
last, I'm so
no. In
excited.
fact,
Yes.
right now, I've
No
got
pressure,
goose
Mark. No
pimple
pressure,
over
Mark.
my entire body, just
Yes.
declaring
Yes.
that we
Yes.
are ready to work with Mark to have all hands on deck because
Good.
Mark is of that mentality. He wants justice for the majority, not the ancestors that was repay reparation so that
Can you
they
imagine?
control still the Caribbean.
Okay.
Mark wants to
So
break the
a
yoke
question for you
of
then.
his ancestors.
My last question for you, because I know that the PNP would appreciate this question. I know that your statements here reflect the majority of the Rastas across the island. Okay, I know that is the case. The next step, of course, is to translate words into action. Does that mean that you, whichever parish you're in now, you'll go out with the PNP candidate with them and knock on doors to campaign for that PNP candidate?
We are here to select who we consider the best person, male or female, in this case, the best male that will form the next cabinet that will govern this nation into a position of prosperity, not poverty, of what this other prime minister is doing to our country.
So that
Mark
does that mean
Golding
you
is,
will? Does that mean
yes,
that
it will. In
you
fact, I've asked
let's say
Mark,
it,
I have
go
asked
on.
Mark, I have asked Mark for a campaign vehicle.
Thank
Because,
you.
as I said, my people,
Thank you.
this
Yes.
election is not about green or orange. It's about the future of this
Leadership.
nation. And
Yeah,
we must choose the right one that listen to the majority, not the one that listen to foreign interests and
indeed.
putting our country into poverty, that we
Indeed.
don't have access to the beaches. And
Can you
as for
imagine?
the
No,
Chinese is
hold on,
taking up
hold on.
everything.
You keep going back to Chinese. I don't want to go to Chinese. I want to focus on what the Rasta community will do in Jamaica. You've said that they will go out and support the PNP candidates.
I am calling on the Rasta community,
Praise
whether
Jah. Go
or
on.
not, to let them know Rastas, just as we supported Michael Manley in a
Mm-hmm.
very important election back in the 80s,
Mm-hmm.
we are
Mm-hmm.
calling you Rastafarian to support the man that has maintained
Mm-hmm.
the dignity of our people by
Mm-hmm.
coming amongst the Rastafarian community. I want you to show the world these pictures of Mark Golding.
I will do
Do
that
you
in as
see?
I will do that as part of my post interview presentation. Don't you worry. But the whole purpose of this interview is that those key milestone questions to
Yes,
ask. I've asked. So the important question for us to conclude the interview is that the Rasta community will come out not just in words but in practical terms to support the PNP candidates
in
in Jamaica.
physical action because
Praise
our
Jah.
future is at stake,
Praise
Motivator.
Jah. Praise Jah,
And we cannot
Rastafari.
be on the fence
Praise Jah,
watching. In fact,
Rastafari.
I
Go
want
on.
this election to
Yes.
be the biggest majority, not a minority. That
Mm-hmm.
means that I want Jamaican to put away the political this day garrison mentality
Mm.
and look at
Mm-hmm.
leadership quality. I am
Brilliant
telling
said.
you,
Well said. Well
Mark
said. Thank you.
Golding will form the best government that this nation has ever had.
It will
I
only
can
happen,
tell,
of
I
course,
can
it will only
confidently
happen,
tell you
but
that.
my Rasta, to be clear, it will only happen if the people come out. And for the Rasta community to support the people coming out to vote for the party
Well,
that is most
we
likely
are
gone.
on that. I've asked Mark to
Right.
give me an assistant with a vehicle
Okay.
because we and certain elders of the Rastafarian community is driving crisscrossing the country to let the Rastafarian know our future is in this election.
In that
And we
case,
must
enough
ensure
said.
that Mark
Enough said.
wins this
Yes.
one.
Okay.
I
In that,
cannot put it more than how
you
critical
have
this
said
election is.
you've said
We
it.
must bring Mark to victory, family.
Praise Jah.
It's a
Praise Jah.
must.
So
It's
my
not an
Russ now.
option.
Hold on, my Russ. Okay, that's fine.
And
I'm
remember this,
confident.
I'm not
Okay, go
no
on.
political. I'm not into no PNP or JLP. I'm into leadership quality.
Yes, I know.
And we recognize good leadership in Mark Golding
In
because
that case,
he
that's
came amongst us.
the rod of justice. Yes,
The rod of justice,
Very so. The rod of
rod of
justice.
correction.
Yes,
Now we
rod
have
of
the rod of
justice. Rod of
justice.
justice. I would
That's
thank you,
what
my
Mark
Russ.
is.
We're now out of time, but thank you, my Russ, for this. It was clear,
I hope
unambiguous
we can.
responses.
I hope that our Jamaican people at home and abroad, I want you to listen to me.
Mhm.
This election is to secure the future of
Yes.
our race, our nation, our
Indeed.
little island that we love so much. If you
Absolutely.
just sit and allow the opposition, the Mr. Onus to win this one, you will not be coming to the Jamaica, the land that Harry Belafonte has sung so wonderfully. Oh, island in the sun, how much I love this
You
island
gotta sing
of
now. Go
my
on, man.
ancestors.
You sing.
No, I'm not gonna but I will tell you, I love this. I
I
love
hear
this
you.
island
This is
so
so
much.
good.
I'm telling you, this
I
island is
understand.
very special to us,
My Russ, I must
and
leave
that
you
is our
now.
position, family.
My Russ, I must leave you now because we're out of time. But you've been very clear. I'm confident that the PMP will reach out to you if they haven't already. And they'll. I know it's early morning there, but I understand they start early. So be ready for them. Don't go back to bed now. Stay
Well,
up.
all I need, my
Go on.
PMP comrade, is a vehicle. In this vehicle,
Okay.
there's some ancients that will be going around the country. All the great ancients of the Nyabingi, Baba Shanti, you name it, the great ancients are one with us. So we
Yes.
want to call upon all the Rastafari. And
Influential.
remember,
Influential.
Rastas is not just locks and head anymore. The philosophy and teaching of His Imperial Majesty has gone right to Jamaica social
Part of
class.
our culture. Yes.
So it's not just the lax head man. We're calling upon all who wants to see a righteous government finally governing our country after 8 years of corruption, where 5 ministers are going to be impeached and probably in prison.
Yeah.
If. So it must be a must.
Yeah.
Mark
Well said.
is the best selection to form the next government to bring our nation into the 21st century of 2030. It's a must. It's not an option,
I
family.
will conclude there now. I will conclude. I must close now. I must close.
Okay.
We've gone over
Thank
time.
you, Motivator. Thank
This is
you.
good. Thank you very much. And we wish you well in the forthcoming campaign. And please take pictures, take videos, share those with us. We'll show them here on the Motivator Show. Okay? We will show them here
I
on the
will be
Motivator Show.
doing that,
Thank
family,
you.
because as
Thank
I
you so
said,
much, King.
we must take a position.
Thank you. The rod of justice.
Thank you.
Thank you, my
The rod of
Russ.
justice.
Rod of
That
justice.
is what
Please.
rod. That
Praise
is what
God.
Mark Golding has brought to us finally.
Yes.
The
Praise
rod
God.
of justice.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night.
Motivator.
Oh, good morning to you there.
And to all the listeners and to all out there,
Yes.
this election is going to determine the future, not just of Jamaica, the entire Caribbean, right into Africa, family.
Yeah.
That's how important this election is.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good day.
One perfect love.
Good morning.
One
Perfect love
perfect
to
love.
you. Praise God.
Thank you, Mr.
Rastafari.
Motivator. Thank you so much.
Thank you. There you go. Whew. Wow. It was hot, huh? Oh my gosh. It was hot. Very clear language. He wants good leadership, compassionate, ethical leadership. He wants leadership that recognizes the value of people and he will invest in people. He wants leadership that will take the people with them. Yeah. Be of the people, not, yeah, be of the people, not dictating to the people. Yeah. He wants leadership that empowers them so they can make their own decision. Yeah. Did they want green or orange? It is what effective, good leadership. And that is what the Honourable Mark Golding represents. And these are individuals who are good scrutinizers, very careful, and they will consider before making decisions. Well done, well done, well done. I think we're actually way over time. I do apologize, but I hope you would agree with me. That particular interview could prove to be a pivotal interview in the forthcoming election. The Rasta community, an extensive community, an influential community in Jamaica, are now on the march. They're clear. The rod of justice is with the PNP. Praise Jah, Rastafari. I'll say no more. There are a few announcements I was going to make, but I won't for now. But if you sit there and do nothing, nothing will happen. And you have the same as you had yesterday, today, and tomorrow. But if you're now energized, if you're now fired up, if your attention is focused, you need to talk to members of your family. You need to talk to members of your network about the future of that little island called Jamaica. It's a cultural superpower. It's significant in so many ways. This election will have a meaningful process for the next generation. Next generation is where our attention is focused. So be clear and be honest with yourselves. Do not hesitate. Vote PNP. I say to you all, until the next time, I remain the motivator. And if in doubt, I say to people, please, if in doubt, ask questions. Watch this short video, and this video will respond to your questions.
Jamaica's billion-dollar Ganja revolution. Imagine a Jamaica where the island's legendary Ganja fields aren't a source of persecution, but of prosperity. A Jamaica where the small farmer is the cornerstone of a thriving new industry. In 2015, this vision started to become a reality as the nation launched a daring economic experiment. This is the story of Jamaica's Ganja revolution and how one plant is set to redefine the future of a nation. President Barack Obama did not legalize cannabis at the federal level during his time in office in 2009 to 2017, but his administration made important policy changes that shifted how cannabis laws were enforced, especially in states that chose to legalize it. The principal change was, of course, federal non-interference, as exemplified by the Cole Memo of 2013, issued by Deputy Attorney General James Cole, told federal prosecutors not to interfere with state legal cannabis operations, as long as they follow strict rules such as no sales to minors or drug cartels. This gave legal protection to businesses in states like Colorado and Washington, which chose to legalize cannabis. The principal impact, it gave states the confidence to launch and expand legal cannabis markets despite federal prohibition, and also gave islands such as Jamaica the confidence to move forward. Thank you, President Barack Obama. Thank you. Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. She was Jamaica's first woman Prime Minister. Her first terms, March 30th, 2006 to September 11th, 2007. Second term, January 5th, 2012, March 3rd, 2016. The Honourable Mark Golding, PNP leader since November 2020, formerly Minister of Justice between 2012-2016 under Prime Minister Portia Simpson Miller. He chaired the Cabinet Legislation Committee. Under his tenure, 121 acts were passed, including a reform to decriminalising ganja in 2015. The Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act of 2015, commonly known as the Ganja Law, was a historic milestone in Jamaica, particularly for Rastafari, who have long regarded cannabis, or ganja, as a sacred herb central to their spiritual and cultural lividity. Listen to the Honourable Mark Golding describes the benefit of the Act to the Rastafari community of Jamaica.
Of freedom of religious expression, we have used that as a basis for saying that the Rastafari people, who for the first time are recognized in any public statute of Jamaica, have a right to possession and use of ganja for their sacrament. They can apply also for 2014. We amended our criminal records legislation to provide that personal use would no longer attract a criminal record in Jamaica, and to provide for automatic expungement of all persons in the past who had a criminal record for personal use. And many thousands of people are in a position to benefit from that. Then we sort of analyzed the treaties and saw what space there was under the treaties from a technical legal standpoint for us to have some policy room for maneuver. And so what we have done is the constitutional rights of freedom of religious expression, we have used that as a basis for saying that the Rastafari people, who for the first time are recognized in any public statute of Jamaica, have a right to possession and use of ganja for their sacrament. They can apply also for they can apply for their places of worship to be designated as effectively exempt spaces where they can use their herbs, and for lands on which they can cultivate their herbs for sacramental use. And we've also come up with a concept of an exempt event, which is an event for the primary purpose of celebration of the Rastafari faith.
Now, listen to the words of the entrepreneurs, the farmers who will create the billion-dollar ganja industry here in Jamaica.
I'd like to thank Emily Mark for the opportunity to be able to plant 5 trees. Back in 2015, when he decriminalized it, it created a pathway for persons like me who excel at cultivating ganja and processing, right? And open up the doors for research and development and homegrown plants, right? Where you can grow 5 trees, as well as possess up to 2 ounces. And I just really want to thank Mark.
Here's a powerful quote from Ras Aya V, a prominent Rastafari elder and ganja advocate in Jamaica, following the passage of the Dangerous Drugs Amendment Act of 2015, locally known as the Ganja Law. For years, we've suffered under the brutality of Babylon's system for using the herb. Now the government has finally acknowledged our right to use ganja as a sacrament. But this is only the beginning. We must ensure that Rastafari are not locked out of the industry we help create. Ras Aya V is chairman of the Westmoreland Hemp and Ganja Farmers Association and a member of Jamaica's Cannabis Licensing Authority.
For personal use of up to 2 ounces of ganja or a spliff, you cannot be arrested, you cannot be charged, you cannot be prosecuted, and you cannot get a criminal record from it. And thousands of Jamaicans have had their criminal records expunged so that they can travel and apply for a visa, so they can work for the public sector, comrades. That was social justice legislation. That is the mission of the PNP in practice. That legislation recognized Rastafari in the law for the first time since independence, comrades. I was the person who penned the first order approving Rastafari Roots Fest in this realm.
Go with holding.